Still me? Sounds like we're all in church. Make sure everybody, council, make sure the mics are on and your phones are off.
Still need to tap it just to make sure.
We're waiting for the live streaming, so that's probably going to start. Okay, very good. All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the regular meeting of the City Council of the Universal State of Texas. It is Tuesday, May 7th, 2024, 6:32 p.m. I'll call this meeting to order right now and call for a quorum check, please.
Mayor President Goolsby.
Here.
Councilmember Buck.
Here.
Councilmember Bulman. Here. Councilmember Fitzpatrick. Here. Councilmember Najarian.
Here.
Councilmember Vaughan.
Here. Quorum is present. We shall proceed. The invocation this evening will be given by Councilmember Buck, and I'll lead us in the pledges, so would you all please stand.
Heavenly Father, thank you for every seat that has been filled here today, both on the dais and in the audience. We all share a sense of commitment to our great city. While we have ideas and a vision, only you can see in perfect detail the end of every beginning. Tonight we ask that you protect us, keep us, guide all that we do. Bless and watch over our servicemen and women and their civilian counterparts as they defend our way of life, often in faraway, dangerous places. Protect our first responders as they protect us, and guide our children's development that they may grow to replace us in these leadership positions years from now. Bless this meeting today, all those present, as well as the lives of those we will encounter afterward. Ready us to make every moment count. In your name we pray, Heavenly Father. Amen.
Amen. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us this evening for our first meeting in the month of May. It's been a very interesting year so far, and it's going to continue to be even more interesting and more challenging and very productive, I think, for all of us. So as we move on this evening, our item number 4, staff reports, city manager report, and then the staff reports. So I'll turn it over to you, Mike.
I don't have a report tonight, Mayor. The staff is going to be doing that. I did just want to introduce the council to Cindy. I guess you go by Cynthia Trevino.
Cindy is fine.
Megan was out of the Austin office. She was on loan to us while they beefed up their San Antonio office. Cindy has been a city employee for at least 10 years, has been an attorney for quite some time, and so she's going to be sitting as our legal counsel moving forward. And she's out of the San Antonio office. And then also with her this evening, you may have met him last time when he was here, Lloyd Newton. He is also a new attorney with Debt Navarro, and so he'll be sitting in on some of our meetings and doing some of our legal work for us as well. Thank you.
Okay. So do we have a financial investment report then this evening?
Yes, sir. Ms. Green? You go ahead and start off.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As of March 31st, the city had completed 50% of our fiscal year. The revenue and expenditure summary for the general debt service, capital projects, utilities, stormwater, and golf funds, as well as the investment report for the second quarter have been presented to you. Thus far, the general fund revenues exceed the expenditures, approximately $3.1 million. Now, this is attributed to the ad valorem taxes that are collected, and normally about 90% of that is received at the beginning of the year, so January. But the general fund overall budget is at 50%, which is what we would expect as of March because we are halfway into the fiscal year. Debt service fund reflects revenues exceeding expenditures in the amount of approximately $1.7 million. Debt service interest and principal payments will be made in August, and that payment will equal $1.8 million. Capital projects funds reflects revenue exceeding expenditures in the amount of $6 million, and that's simply because the bond that was issued for the streets in October, that we were funded in October. That'll be held until the engineering is completed, and then once construction starts, you'll start seeing that coming down. The utility fund revenues exceed expenditures in the amount of $1.8 million. The water revenues as of March 31st were 2.5, which is 55% of the budget, and sewer revenues were at 2.4, which is about 30% of the anticipated revenue for that budget. Stormwater fund expenditures exceeded revenues by $33,000, and their stormwater revenue was at $400,000, which is 51% of the budget. Golf course revenues exceeded expenditures $612,000. Revenues included the venue tax year to date, which is $451,000. A remaining 34% is due to the golf course of about $789,000. I'm leaving it in the venue tax fund for a little bit longer so that it can accrue interest for that tax instead of putting it into the golf course. The investment report, you'll see that we switched over to pool cash as of the middle of January. And as I was telling some of the council members earlier, it's working well. We're finishing up getting some of the information for the credit card deposits to be switched over. And then once that's done, we'll be 100% pool cash. So if you look at the investment report and you have questions about the way it's presented, please let Ms. Turner know so that we can maybe tweak it a little bit so that it makes sense to everyone that views it. And that's all I have.
Okay, very good. And can we move on to the next portion then?
Yes, sir. The next item that we have up, Mayor Bell's going to do her open records report for the second quarter of 2024.
All right, thank you, Mayor and Council. You'll receive the report. I'm not sure if you have any specific questions that you would like me to answer, but very quickly, we almost tripled our requests this quarter. Not tripled, doubled. The total requests for quarter 2 were 393 with a total of 179 staff hours. So, any questions?
Yes, Mr.
Oh, thank you. So is there any way to determine how many of those are, more of a construction, a developer-driven open record request? Is that something versus a citizen trying to find out something about in the city? I'm looking for like a development-driven open request. Is that something?
Yeah, absolutely. So for development services, we had 12 requests this quarter. Some of those requests take a lot of time. Most of those requests are maybe these 5-minute requests. The 12 requests, I believe, of those 12 requests, we had 3 that took about 4 hours, and then the rest of that time was for the monthly reports.
So I guess where I'm headed is, what is it just, I just feel like that's such a low number. I really was hoping to see that be much higher.
Development services?
Yeah, the 12 requests.
Is there a reason why you want it to be higher?
I want everybody to be interested in Universal City.
So let me tell you what they're typically asking for in their open requests is they're the large construction magazines that want a copy of all of the permits that we've issued so they can put that data out. The other thing that they get is a lot of requests for underground storage tanks or environmental. People are interested in Universal City, but I will take the staff's thing. They always tell us that really with most of the stuff that they need, they can find on our website.
And the other thing that I want to add to that is that sometimes they don't go the official open records request route. I am tracking what I receive. So occasionally they will go directly to staff, which may not be the proper avenue, but we're getting interest. So I can try and find a way to track that a little bit better for you.
No, that's all right. I was just curious. I was like,
Well, Mike, what do you feel? Is there anything you want to add to what we've already said? Yeah,
okay. All
that's what
right.
they're asking.
Thank you all very much.
And some of these developers already have plans from previous owners, so they don't have to ask us.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. I forgot to ask, did anybody have any questions of Christine related to the financial investment report? I didn't see anybody raise their hands. Okay, we're good. Any more, Maribel?
No.
Did you grab the citizens?
Yes,
paper?
absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, next item we have on the agenda this evening is our citizens to be heard. It's a time where the public's invited to address council on matters of interest and concern that they may have. We don't take any action on it, but we certainly welcome and appreciate our citizens getting directly involved in the process. So we've had two individuals that have signed it this evening, so I'll call you up into order. Try to keep your comments as short as you can because we do have quite a few things on the agenda this evening. So first individual that signed it this evening, Mr. David Karras. Mr. Karras?
My name is David Karras. I'm at 3001 Muscat Way. The reason why I'm here today is I sent a lot of information to you this week, and I want to give you a Cliff Notes version of that, just in case you weren't able to compile or go through all the data. So what brought us here today was, for that discussion that you're going to have about permits, is the $225 permit and all the requirements for a 43 square foot greenhouse. The city did reduce it to 185, which I'm grateful for. I appreciate it. But what I want to kind of talk about was I looked at 20 different municipalities, neighboring and across the state, to kind of see where UC fit in line with the state. Of the 20, 14 of them did not require permits. 6 did, including UC. And I found that some cities charge permits based off of size or value of the project going on. So I took a 200 square foot structure with a value of $300,000 and found that the average permit fee would be $81.50. The lowest was $47, and the next highest besides UC's was $170, which was Selma. It was a $100 permit fee and then a $70 admin fee. So at the 225, we're way off of even the average of the local area. So, and what also kind of bothered me was the fee. When and I'm not trying to disparage anybody, it's what it is. The city inspector came out. The first inspection took about 20 seconds. Went right to my fence, marked from the fence to where the slab was, and then walked away. He came back, took about 2 minutes to look at the structure. So for about 2.5 minutes worth of work was $185. But when I had my pergola put up, it was about the same amount of time, and it cost me $225. So I did some math, and at the 2.5 minutes at $225 for a permit, that's $4,500 an hour. And then if we assume that was the only inspection for the day, they drove 15 minutes to my house and back for the 2 inspections plus the 3 minutes, it worked out to $214.29 an hour. So if a resident makes $15 an hour, they would have to work almost 14.5 hours just to cover the permit fee. So who does this impact? It's going to impact the elderly, single parent households, single income households, households with disabled family members, and now we're going to start seeing more multi-generational families. It's going to impact them as well. Sorry, my sinuses are back there. So I've submitted 4 possible solutions where I think we can come to a happy medium as a city, because as the city council, you're here to kind of look out for the citizens. I think this is a great way for you to be able to do that. But if you have any questions, I don't know if you can during that, but I'll be happy to answer any questions about.
We'll be discussing it under action items tab H.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Next individual signed this evening is Mr. Bernard Vaughan.
Mr. Mayor, council members, city staff. Today, I'd like your consideration to rebrand Universal City. We have considered spending $250,000 in partly rebranding Universal City, and I'd like you to consider this. Let's rebrand Universal City, not just the gateway to Randolph Air Force Base. Let's rebrand the city of Universal City, essentially the gateway to democracy. Now, the reason why I bring this up is our vote in Dare County was about 3% of registered voters. Our vote in Universal City was higher than that. But think of the possibility of our city being able to move forward with a 90 to 95% voter rate. It would be important to engage essentially all of the veteran groups within our city all the societies within our city and the school system within our city. So within 10 years, we would literally be a gateway to democracy, which perhaps is what this country needs. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bulman. Okay. As has been my custom for the last 16 years, if anybody would like to address council that didn't have a chance to sign up, I'd be glad to have you. Come on up and let us know what you're on. Everybody good tonight? Nice and relaxed, everybody? That's good. Okay, all right, so we'll move on now to our announcements. We have some special announcements this evening, and we'll start with our city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Just reminding everybody that the swearing-in ceremony and canvassing of the vote and swearing in of the new members is next Tuesday, the 14th at 6:30 in this room. And then also wanted to remind everybody that we do have the joint EDC City Council meeting on the 21st. The council meeting is at 6:30. The EDC Joint City Council meeting is at 5:30. And so Vaughan Council and your financial advisor will be here for the 5:30 meeting to guide the council and the EDC through the final approval for the EDC bonds.
Okay.
5:30 and 6:30 on the 21st.
Next week at 6:30.
Next week is 6:30.
Next week is 6:30. The 14th at 6:30. The 21st at 5:30.
Are we clear, Mr. Goolsby?
Yes, sir, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Let me just clarify one thing to make sure you understand that. Yes, we know the vote, the election was Saturday, but it takes a period of time to count the extra votes and things like the absentee and write-ins, make sure that we have enough so that we could not actually canvass tonight and do the changeover tonight. We have to wait till next week. That's why there's a special meeting next Tuesday. The only item on the agenda will be to canvass that vote and to swear in the new council members. So having said that, I also want to congratulate Tom Maxwell, who will be our new mayor starting next week. Mr. Phil Vaughan reelected, and also Mr. Bernie Rubal, who was reelected as well, who was elected, and he will be serving now as his first term on our city council. So they will be officially sworn in next week at that meeting. I want to say a couple extra things. I won't do it tonight, but I'll do it next week. But I do want to specifically I'm going to say something special about Mr. Buck. Stephen's been a great stalwart member of our council for the last couple of years, and he's leaving us going to Germany. Is their gain and our loss, because Stephen's been one heck of a man. And Mr. Najarian, Paul, will be leaving us after next week as well. Two great council members who I've enjoyed serving with, and I would serve with them anytime, anywhere. So I just want to give that out to you right now, just as a quick one. For you newly elected, maybe not necessarily for Phil, but for Mr. Rubal and Ms. Lori Potter, who was also elected, there is ACOG, the Almari Council of Governments, is holding a special elected officials reception
Signed up already,
on May 31st.
They're already signed up, thank you.
Oh, pardon?
Mr. Rubal and Ms. Putt and Mr. Maxwell have already signed up for this.
Perfect. Yeah, you guys will really, truly enjoy it. It's going to be extremely educational for you. Very beneficial. That's one of the things ACOG really does and does a super job at. Okay, so those are the only items I had this evening. So, except we do have two proclamations. I would like Mr. Bach to read the annual Professional Municipal Clerks Week proclamation. Stephen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A proclamation for the 55th Annual Professional Municipal Clerks Week, May 5th to May 11th, 2024. Whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world, and whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk is the oldest among public servants, and whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk provides the professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and agencies of government at other levels, and whereas professional municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal services to all. Whereas the professional municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community, and whereas professional municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the professional municipal clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, provincial, county, and international professional organizations. And whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of the professional municipal clerk. Now therefore, I, John Williams, Mayor of the City of Universal City, do recognize the week of May 5th through May 11th, 2024 as Professional Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to our professional municipal clerks and to all professional municipal clerks for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities they represent. Dated this 7th day of May 2024, signed John Williams, Mayor of Universal City.
Thank you, Stephen. You couldn't get away without having at least one more official duty, right? So I'm going to do the same.
And I want to say professional municipal clerk one more time.
Paul's going to read the Building Safety Month proclamation, Paul. And we do have a building official here, and when we get done, we'll present it to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The proclamation, Building Safety Month, May 2024. Whereas Universal City, Texas is committed to recognizing that our growth and strength depends on the safety and essential role our homes, buildings, and infrastructure play, both in everyday life and when disasters strike. And whereas our confidence in the resilience of these buildings that make up our community is achieved through the devotion of vigilant guardians, building safety and fire prevention officials, architects, engineers, builders, tradespeople, design professionals, laborers, plumbers, and others in the construction industry who work year-round to ensure the safe construction of buildings. And whereas these guardians are dedicated members of the International Code Council, a nonprofit that brings together local, state, territorial, tribal, and federal officials who are experts to build environment and to create and implement the highest quality codes to protect us in the buildings where we live, learn, work, and play. And whereas these modern building codes include safety guards to protect the public from hazards such as hurricanes, snowstorms, tornadoes, wildland fires, floods, and earthquakes. And whereas Building Safety Month is sponsored by the International Code Council to remind the public about the critical role of our communities, largely unknown protectors of public safety, our local code officials who assure us of safe, sustainable, and affordable buildings that are essential to our prosperity. And whereas Mission Possible, the theme for Building Safety Month 2024, encourages all to raise awareness about building safety on a personal, local, and global scale. And whereas each year, in observance of Building Safety Month, people all over the world are asked to consider the commitment to improve building safety, resilience, and economic investment at home and in the community, and acknowledge the essential services provided to all of us by local and state building departments, fire prevention bureaus, and federal agencies in protecting lives and property. Now, therefore, I, John Williams, Mayor of the City of Universal City, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2024 as Building Safety Month. Accordingly, I encourage our citizens to join us as we participate in Building Safety Month activities. Signed, John Williams, Mayor.
Jacqueline, come on for a second.
So as the mayor comes down, you know, it is Building Safety Awareness Month, and we always have building safety programs in place for residents. Jacqueline, help me out. Tell me the 2 dates for those.
May the 11th. We will have a 10 o'clock. Seminar about aging in place. Essentially, how to renovate your homes and community, to provide you a little more affordability as we grow older, or your home becomes a multi-generational family and you start taking in some of your older family members, and provide you with information, ideas, and potential grant and other money opportunities to help you with that change. And then the second seminar we will be having is on Monday, May the 13th at 6 p.m. And that is for newer homeowners. Perhaps it's the first time that you've had a home or owned a home, and maybe you'd like a little more information about winterizing your home or or how to properly care and maintenance your home. So,
Thank you.
Well, I don't know how many of you actually know her. She has done a phenomenal job for us in University City. It's kind of a thankless job at times because she has a tremendous responsibility to ensure that the buildings, both commercial and residential, are up to code, and that's really important because it's all about safety. And Jacqueline, you've done a wonderful job. And I just want to present this to you as just a token of this week, this month, and how much that we appreciate what you do for our community. So thank you very much.
thank you, Mayor.
You know, I think, as I've said many times over the years, one of the most pleasant things that we have in this job as mayor and as council is to recognize people and organizations for what they do. And to be able to give just a simple thing like a proclamation is the least that we can do to recognize those that go above and beyond. And I really appreciate everything that you all have done. Okay, so let's move on now to our council member announcements, and I'll start out with Mr. Buck this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have anything tonight.
Okay. You will next.
I will.
I'll take care of it next week.
I will.
Everybody then.
I'm good. Mr. Rulo stole my thunder because I was going to say, hey, we made it to 9%. Yay. So that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Ms. Paul?
I just want to thank you, Mr. Karras, for all of your hard work and research and all the stuff that you did. I very much appreciate it. And also thank you to everyone who volunteered at the pancake breakfast. Like always, it was busy and looked like a good success, which is awesome. Even though voter turnout was low this year, I still appreciate everyone who took the time to go out and vote. So hopefully we can make that a little bit better every year. I guess we'll see. That's it.
Okay. Mr. Adjournment?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just the things that were going on in the city this week at the ribbon cuttings. We had Tip World and was able to procure the Veterans Memorial drum line, which created a lot of excitement for a while, and I've never seen so many donuts disappear so quick in my entire life, but they did a great job getting rid of those. And just with all the gathering, the things going on at the gather and around town, and just our vital city, and with election time going on, just wanted to appreciate everybody being on a fantastic friendly level, and I just wanted to recognize Mr. Rubel. Great campaign, and we appreciate anybody in this community running and opening it up, and I congratulate you, sir. I congratulate Phil Vaughan for his re-entry on the council, or re-election on the council, and Lori Putt as well, who has been a long-time resident, and we all know her dearly. And I just want to thank everybody for probably the best 6 years of my life. Thank you.
We'll probably recognize you next week.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say again that we are accepting applications for our Heroes Camp that's going to start the first week in June. That's geared towards 12 to 14-year-olds. It's a free camp. They get to interact with our police and fire and EMS. It's a great experience. I did it last year with them, and everybody walked away learning a tremendous amount. All got CPR certified and Stop the Bleed certified, which was great. The pancake breakfast was awesome. Thank you for everybody who came out. We also had a volunteer event, a first time volunteer event on Sunday, where people in the community could come out and learn about volunteer opportunities with different organizations within the city. And it was a great event, but I will say if anybody missed that and has questions, please let us know, because there's awesome ways to get involved with our community. So that's all.
Phil?
Hey, Mayor, I'll save my comments for next week.
Okay. All right. As I say, Kim mentioned, the next meeting is actually next Tuesday to canvass the vote. So we will say farewell to a couple of us up here, 3 of us out here on the dais, and we'll welcome 2 new members, plus Phil as an incumbent. And so I invite you all to come and enjoy the last opportunity for you to harass any of us up here that are leaving. Okay? And or you can say nice things to those that are already on the council.
Started with that.
Okay, what we're going to do right now is I'm going to move us into executive session. It's listed under No tab 1 on the second page of the agenda, but I think it makes sense for us to move into executive session right now. We'll be back on as fast as we can, and then we'll proceed with the rest of the meeting rather than stop it right towards the end of the meeting. So we'll be back as quickly as we can. Keep it alive.
Thank you enjoyed that.
Okay, we're going to reconvene from executive session. It is now 7:15 and reconvene, and there will be no action taken as a result of the executive session. So we'll move on now and then to our consent agenda, which is tab number 8. All items listed are enacted by one motion, unless there's a motion to pull. And there is item the reunion development, which is listed as number 3. We're going to pull that. And also the other item we're going to pull is number 7, the resolution on purchase of real estate property at Backbrook Road, 216 Backbrook. So those are the items that will be pulled. The rest of the items will be considered on one consent motion. So
Move to approve.
motion by Councilmember Najarian.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Butt. Any discussion on those items? All right, call for the vote then, please, Mayor Bell.
Councilmember Najarian.
Aye.
Councilmember Buck.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Goolsby.
Aye.
Councilmember Bulman.
Aye.
Councilmember Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Councilmember Vaughan.
Aye.
Okay, those amendments are approved in the consent agenda. Moving on to item number 3, the reunion development. There's actually five items under that. And so I think what we need to do is there's a request to call for that vote again on that particular item. There is one item I think that we do need to address, and that is the one related to, what is the item E?
D&E, correct?
D&E.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, move to approve Resolution 970-A-2024, subject to further legal review by the city and the developer attorneys.
Second.
Motion made and second there. Okay. All right. On that item, so we can call for the vote on that particular item then.
Councilmember Buck.
Aye.
Councilmember Najarian.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Goolsby.
Aye.
Councilmember Bulman.
Aye.
Councilmember Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Councilmember Vaughan.
Recuse.
Okay. This is all legal mumbo jumbo that we go through. It's okay. It has to happen. All right.
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry, because we have to do both of the resolutions, right? Yes. Mr. Mayor, I move to approve Resolution number 970-B-204, subject to further legal review by the city and developer attorneys.
Okay. Motion made. Second by Councilmember Goolsby. Discussion. All right. Call for the vote, please.
Councilmember Buck.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Goolsby.
Aye.
Councilmember Bulman.
Aye.
Councilmember Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Councilmember Najarian.
Aye.
Councilmember Vaughan.
Recuse.
Okay. That leaves us with the 3 other items at A, B, and C, all related to the reunion development as well. And we can work those on just one motion. Move to approve. Councilmember Najarian.
Second.
Councilmember Fitzpatrick. Discussion further. All right. Call for the vote then, please.
Councilmember Najarian.
Aye.
Councilmember Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Goolsby.
Aye.
Councilmember Buck.
Aye.
Councilmember Bulman.
Aye.
Councilmember Vaughan.
Recuse.
Okay. That motion passes then, so that moves us on to the other item that was pulled, which is item number 7, Resolution 970C 2024, resolution of the City of Universal City authorizing the purchase of real property located at 216 Backbrook Road, Universal City, Texas, by the UC Economic Development Corporation, projects to promote a new or expanded business development.
Move to approve.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Goolsby.
Second.
Councilmember Najarian. Any further discussion? Vote please. Call for the vote please, Mayor Bell.
Mayor Pro Tem Goolsby.
Aye.
Councilmember Najarian.
Aye.
Councilmember Buck.
Aye.
Councilmember Bulman.
No.
Councilmember Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Councilmember Vaughan.
No.
Okay, that motion passes by 4-2. Let's move on now to our action items this evening. First item is Police Department grant resolutions. It's tab B, C, D, and E. And so there are actually 4 different resolutions. One's related to body worn camera grant, 2 of them the body worn camera grant, and 1 rifle resistant body armor grant, and alert travel assistance grant. So, Ms. Turner, you can present this?
Yes, Mayor, without the resolutions, they can't apply for the grants, so we respectfully request that you approve them so they can move forward.
Move to approve.
Second.
That's Lieutenant Goolsby, second by Councilmember.
It was Bucker.
I'll give it to Councilmember Bulman. All right, so any other discussion on that? Anybody else?
Is it
Ms.
B,
Bowman?
is it B through E? Or do we just do a B? Or
No, B through E, yeah.
Okay.
We can do them all in one, yeah. So there are 4 separate resolutions, but each one's for a specific other item. So, but we can do it with one vote. All right, call for the vote then, please, Mayor Vaughan.
Mayor Pro Tem Goolsby,
Aye.
Councilmember Bulman,
Aye.
Councilmember Buck,
Aye.
Councilmember Fitzpatrick,
Aye.
Councilmember Najarian,
Aye.
Councilmember Vaughan.
Aye.
Those resolutions are passed, now they can go out and do their thing, right? Okay, very good. All right, tab F, Resolution 972, 2024. Resolution of the City of UC approving the application for grant funds from the Bureau of Reclamation WaterSMART Planning and Project Design Grant for FY 2024 program funding opportunity number R23 AS 00109.
Thank you, Mayor. This is our second time going out for this particular grant. We were awarded in our first attempt, which was great. I think we received about $100,000. With that, we changed out how many meters?
We're still in the process.
Still in the process, but 100,000 costs, covers how many meters?
About 500.
About 500 meters. So it's part of our meter replacement program. You know, they're like, meters now are more like computers rather than the old hardware that you're used to seeing. So they have a shelf life like everything else. So we do have to have a council resolution approved to submit this grant as well.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Motion by Councilmember
Second.
Vaughan, second by Mayor Goolsby. Discussion, anyone? All right, Mayor Vaughan, call for the vote, please.
Councilmember Vaughan,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Goolsby,
Aye.
Councilmember Buck,
Aye.
Councilmember Bulman,
Aye.
Councilmember Fitzpatrick,
Aye.
Councilmember Najarian.
Aye.
Good, that motion passes as well. Move on to tab G, agreement between Bear County and UC for county ARPA sewer pipe bursting funds.
Thank you. As you know, the ARPA funds, for a while, they flowed everywhere to the state, the county, to tribal units, and to cities. And Universal City, we've done an excellent job in utilizing our funds, but in the interim, the county has a lot of surplus ARPA funds that they have to have committed by December of this year and fully used up by December of 2026. And so, because they had excess funds, they allowed other cities within Bear County to apply for projects within our cities that we could use it. If you remember, we did a pipe bursting project that we had in our ARPA funds that we didn't have quite the amount of funds. We awarded the contract, and then we were going to decrease the amount of work that they had done. Well, while we were working on all that, the county was finally working on awarding these funds, and they did award that same sewer project that we had in our ARPA funds. So what we are asking for council is to agree to the agreement that we have with Bear County to utilize their ARPA funds for our sewer pipe bursting project. As you will note, that their grant was for just over $2 million, because when we first went out to estimate, that's what our project came to, but it came in way below. So we've had some initial discussions with them, Randy has, on whether or not we will actually, they will be reducing the amount of funds that we receive, or if they'll be allowing us to add in some additional pipe bursting projects. You want to give them any background on that and what your discussions were?
Yes, the county, with awarding us this project, they felt that they're targeting our older sections of town where we're rehabbing a lot of our older lines. And that's why we were funded this money. So doing so, again, our budget, our contract that you awarded was 1.3. This thing came in, we requested 2 million. So my request that I went back to them with is, can we expand it? They're going to research it. We have to give them more project areas in that same area. We can't use it on any other part. It has to be in our low mod area, which is our east and west side of the aviation district. So we'll be submitting all that paperwork. We still got more paperwork to submit to them to finalize the contract. But we'll have to see. if we can use all of it, or we're only gonna get the 1.3, but we're glad to have it anyway, so.
Okay, so what you're looking for us from now is us approving the agreement for you to work with the county on this one.
Yes, you're approving the agreement because primarily in the agreement, it does state the amount that is awarded to us, but it also reminds us as a staff of all the SLRFR, what is it? It's tough. It's a lot of, yes, thank you.
Try to do that when you're.
Yes. It's just basically you agreeing that as a city, we understand those rules and we'll follow them, which we've already done with the CARES funding that we received and with the ARPA funding. It's no different. So they are asking for the city to approve the agreement with them.
Okay,
Mr. Mayor, approve. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Move to approve the agreement between Bear County and Universal City for county ARPA sewer pipe bursting funds.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion.
I don't know if we had anything to do with this or if it just fell on our lap, but it's amazing. So thank you if anybody did go chase this down. And even if you're back to 700,000, just getting to 1.3 would be great. But I'm wondering, are we going to have a future maybe discussion about how we're going to replace the ARPA?
Yes.
Okay.
So as you know, we do have an ARPA budget that we've been following, and staff has been pretty good. When we put the ARPA budget together, there were a lot of cost estimating that we had to do. And there were a lot of delayed projects, and of course, everybody was doing the same types of projects, so cost of goods went up. We do have a few of those items in there that went way over cost, the generators in particular, and the fencing around the generators and the cameras. So we're going to come back with a revised budget once we have all of those costs in. And then Ms. Green at that time will come back, and then she'll give you some recommendations on how she thinks that they can even be best utilized. And so, yeah, you will have that forthcoming.
Perfect. Good, thank you very much. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any more discussion? All right, Mayor Bell, call for the vote, please.
Councilmember Buck?
Aye.
Councilmember Najarian?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Goolsby?
Aye.
Councilmember Bulman?
Aye.
Councilmember Fitzpatrick?
Aye.
Councilmember Vaughan?
Hi.
Okay, that motion passes. Let's move on action items to tab H. Discussion on permit requirements for accessory structures. And I think this was the item originally was brought up by Mr. Vaughan, so I'll turn it over to you, Phil.
Thank you, Mayor. And so Ms. Karras brought this up, and I agree it's something that we should probably consider discussing. In my opinion, the permits are designed for building safety, and I don't think there's a big building safety concern for a gazebo or a portico or whatever you want to call it in your backyard. And the International Code Council puts out the recommendations, and they say you shouldn't have to require a permit for those structures either. And so we adopted an ordinance that says we've removed that exemption from the building code and say, yes, anything that's 120 square feet on the building code or 200 square feet on residential would require a permit. And so Ms. Karras has done some great research here. Of the 18 cities, not counting us, and the one that you weren't able to figure out what their rules were, only 5 of those required a permit. And so we wouldn't be outside the norm if we just said, let's follow the International Code Council's recommendation and not require a permit for these. And so I'm curious what my other fellow council members think about whether that's something that we should consider, or if you like the way the permit structure is now with the $225 fee for trying to put up a gazebo or a greenhouse or whatever might be in your backyard.
Right. So it's open for discussion, Mr.
I guess with what has been going on in the news and kind of this in particular situation, the wind load is it's so problematic right now with the tornadoes that are occurring and the strong winds and the damage that can be done. I don't think we can say that there's little concern about what's going on in our backyards, because those can become shrapnel basically in a windstorm. And I know we're not likely to get tornadoes here, although that's changing. There was a tornado here, 5 years ago? Not common, but watching the weather, I don't think it's something that we should just minimize and say, let's not do it. I do think that there's value in having permits and and looking at this situation in the instructions for the one that was originally looked at from Costco, it said that it needed to be taken down for anything over forecasted 15-mile-an-hour winds. And living in San Antonio, I think we routinely get over 15-mile-an-hour winds, and I think that it was a good conversation to have. I feel like you ended up with a quality product that's going to add to the value of your home because of the discussion and because of the permit process that was in place. So I think that permits should be continued there in those buildings.
Well, maybe one of the items is the cost of the permit. That is one, there's some contention on someone, as your research indicated, it varied dramatically. One cost on, yes, ma'am?
Thank you. I did just want to advise you, Mayor, that staff did do a presentation when you're ready for it.
Staff is going to have.
Yes, staff has a presentation when you're ready.
I'm sorry.
So that's the one thing that we need to take a look at for you guys in the future is they're ready to do it, not tonight. But unless you would like to have it tonight. Would you like to have it tonight? Everybody?
Yes.
Sure.
All right?
I mean, Jacqueline came all the way down, sir.
Yeah.
She didn't come here just for the building inspector, right?
No, it's appropriate because it's an item that's brought up by Mr. Vaughan and we had a citizen who was really active with it. So let's go, if you all agree, let's go ahead and get the staff presentation. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Turner.
Thank you.
I'll start out.
Oh, good call.
Or even better, try that.
Oh, yeah, wow.
So actually, we're not going to focus on that spreadsheet first. I'm going to touch on the fee structure that the city approved 5 years ago. And so I've done a lot of research over the years on building permit fee schedules and the way in which municipalities come up with their fee schedules, the formulas for doing that. And basically, there's no rhyme or reason, there's no standardization, it's all over the board. And so what you basically have in every community across the country is one or a combination of multiple things. A base fee or an administrative fee, plus a fee or a component that is based on the value of the project and or the square footage of the project in question. And so every community across the country basically has a combination of that structure. What we did 5 years ago is we evaluated our fee structure because there's so many inconsistencies across the board between communities, within communities themselves. Two folks can be can live next door to each other and do a very similar project and have a wide range in permit fees. And so in our evaluation, we wanted to come to the true cost to the city and maintain our revenue as much as possible. And so in doing that, what we looked at was, again, the cost of the city. We looked at all of the staff members that were involved in the permitting process, from permit intake to the plan reviewers, to the inspectors, and again, back to the closeout of the permit. Fire is also included in that because they do a certain number of inspections. And so we looked at direct and indirect costs. What we basically, in 2019 numbers, it was $103 approximately for 1 hour for the city to administer a permit. As part of that process, we looked at the number of permits that were issued over a 3-year period to get an average for every single permit that had been issued, every permit type. So decks, single-family homes, windows, roofs, everything. And so we had that average. Then we looked at the median cost that had been charged over a 3-year period for all of those. We then compared that median cost to the $103 cost, the true cost to the city. And then we were able to look at all those numbers, all the different permit types. We had 41 at the time, and we were able to reduce that down to 8 fee classifications. And that's why we have our fee structure today of $85 to $3,500 or $5,000. So there's 8 fee types. It's much simpler for residents to understand, for contractors to understand, and again, is the true cost to the city. So that's how we have come up, and that is the current fee structure that we have in place. Again, it's a much fairer system.
And so you talked about the revenue, right? We're not out to make money on permits. We work as close as we can to make it so it's revenue neutral, so that each person that pulls their permit is paying for the service that they get. And if there's no overcharge on that, it provides the simplicity in the permit system. And kudos to Michael for getting us from 41 permits to 8, and to 8 categories. I think it was 2 legislatures ago, there was a House bill or a Senate bill that was passed that indicated that the cities no longer have the ability with the fee structures that he showed. These are illegal, most of them. They shouldn't be doing it, their permits, the state doesn't allow them.
It was House Bill
852, thank you. And so we feel fortunate that we were ahead of the curve and that the fee structure that we use is actually now going to be used by other cities so that when they're issuing their permits, that they are revenue neutral also, and simplifying it across the state. Not saying everybody's going to use our system, but most of the ones you see here and the research that Mr. Karras so kindly did, those are fee structures that they shouldn't even be using. And with that, I'll turn it over to Jacqueline.
So as far as the code amendment goes, I went back to research ordinance 370. It was originally the building codes were originally adopted by the city. And by the building codes, I mean the International Code Council model back in 2004 originally, and the verbiage and the exception as it was written. Over the years, that number of square feet has changed, has varied from book to book and iteration to iteration as the council decides and the voting body changes its mind. In 2015, that number was 150 square feet. Now that number is 200 square feet. In 2004, that number was 250 square feet. So as you can see, it's changing. It's changed every 3 years or so. That verbiage has rarely remained consistent. From the adoption of that ordinance by the city to shift from the Uniform Building Code or the Southern Building Code to the International Code Council or the International Building Code, the city has upon that adoption, that exception was removed. As you can see in this very, very busy, very wordy table, I have canvassed the surrounding cities, included their current iteration of the code that they are under. As you know, the code changes every 3 years. I found 2 that are not currently under the 21 code, and that is the city of Cibolo, they're under the 2015 code, and the city of Schertz, they're still under the 2018 code. Everyone else in the surrounding area are under the 2021 code. As you can see that most of them, as Mr. Karras pointed out, have either kept in the exception as written or they have modified it in a certain, in one way or another, or they have or they have amended it slightly so that the verbiage matches. And the reason I say the verbiage matches is that from the building code to the residential code, essentially the building code only addresses detached one-story, detached accessory structures that are only to be used as storage sheds, playhouses, or similar uses, meaning uses that won't be utilized as a place for a person or an occupancy or something like that. It's utilized mainly as a storage facility, and that area is no greater than 120 square feet, meaning that if the structure is less than 120 square feet, then no permit is required. In the IRC, that verbiage is a little bit different. It is any detached accessory structure that the floor area is not greater than 200 square feet, meaning that any structure that you or your family spend time under, relax in, or under, potentially could be what could be considered unsafe or hazardous to the surrounding, to you and your family, or to your neighbor and their family. And I also looked at the fee structures for the surrounding cities as well. And as you can see, they are very, they are very confusing. Some of them are extremely complicated and very difficult to understand. Most of them are determined by valuation of the structure or the square footage of the structure. And then you add on a base fee for administrative purposes, plan review fees, etc. So a little bit more about the reason that the city, or at least what I believe the intention of the building official at the time when this ordinance was adopted, was mostly to adhere to or to provide a consistent and equitable administration of the code pretty much across the board for all structures that are built in Universal City. This serves a purpose of twofold. No matter what the structure is, we know that it meets the code requirements for structural stability, including wind loading, security, anchoring, etc. But it also provides a second ability to prevent, let's say, unintended consequences. And that is things that bleed out from the zoning ordinance. So not only do we look at the structural stability of the structure itself that is constructed, we also look at the easements or potential easements of the property, whether or not the structure is built there, whether it can or cannot be built there. The setback requirements, the height requirements, and that they're meeting the height requirements of zoning, as well as the number of accessory structures that is currently allowed by the zoning ordinance. This prevents code compliance cases or increased number of code compliance cases that could be a possibility on the back end that would have to be solved by potentially removing or demolishing the structure if it didn't meet that zoning ordinance requirement. My belief or my understanding of the intention of the building official when that was adopted was to mitigate that costly demolition of the structure for the property owner, and to perhaps allow for more education on the front end to the property owner before they invested in something that could be extremely costly, and to help protect the investment of their property. I'm open to any questions from council that they have.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Jacqueline, first of all, I'd like to say thank you to Mr. Curris for coming out here tonight. You could have just walked away from this problem having spent your money, and now you have your permit, and it's no longer my problem. So I applaud you for coming out here. No matter what your intentions are, it shows me that you're interested in the goings on of Universal City. So thank you very much for coming out here. I'd like to clarify, Jacqueline, if you don't mind, some of the verbiage in there as it relates to Mr. Karras's case. He was trying to, he built a greenhouse. Does that fall under the category of similar structures as it relates to all of these?
A greenhouse is what we like to call a gray area in code. Typically, based on the size and the use, it probably would fall into similar uses or similar type uses as defined by the code.
Right, because he's not trying to store tools, he's trying to store plants. So it's kind of being used as a storage thing. Could you speak to I did some research and I sent it to you in the CC. Could you speak to the council? In my research, I found that the city of San Antonio does not require a permit for accessory structures. I'm trying to get a little more specific here rather than just saying 18 or 20 of the communities, whatever. Specifically, San Antonio and Austin also does not require a permit for an accessory structure as long as they meet the certain square footage. San Antonio even saw fit to raise that number to 300 square feet. So given the concerns that have been voiced here tonight about whether it turns into shrapnel, something like that, and your points are very well taken, You know, one could argue that lawn chairs and picnic tables in the backyard could also become shrapnel. Why do you think do San Antonio, and maybe you know, but I'd like to hear your opinion, why do San Antonio and Austin not require a permit, but we do?
I would believe that San Antonio and Austin probably don't have the manpower, to be completely honest, but also I believe that one of the main reasons is that the reason that they left in the exception is that they probably saw fit that those similar structures or those types of structures were small enough or negligible enough that it wouldn't cause a significant enough amount of damage. I'm not by any means an expert in engineering or architecture or even wind design. That's what I have other experts of record to reach out to. To my best knowledge, they amended it to be something that was the best suit for their city and for their jurisdiction, their staffing sizing and their current zoning ordinance requirements. I really can't speak to their mindset in that capacity.
And, you know, I used to live in San Antonio, and I remember when I had a heating and air conditioning unit put in, and, you know, pulled a permit for it. And I got a card from the city of San Antonio that says, hey, you had this work done. If you want us to inspect it, fill out this card and send it back to us, and at some point we'll get out there. They have that for a lot of things because they don't have the capacity in a city of their size to send an inspector out for everything that they do.
I'm just trying to understand, I guess, the logic of having edited the IRC, or sorry, the ICC, to edit that exception out of the code. What was because we just did this in 2022, at the beginning of 2023, I think beginning of 2022, middle 2022, we adopted the 2021 codes, and we edited that out, that exception out.
So I think Jacqueline spoke back to that exception actually began in 2004.
Right.
And I do remember the discussion in the Southern Building Code and the Uniform Building Code when we went to the ICC on what would have a permit and what would not have a permit. And there are at times concerns about sheds on properties. They can become, some of them are very clapboard construction. Some of the ones that were done on them didn't necessarily have the permitting, and the city council at that time, they were really trying to, lack of a better term, clean up and maintain the neighborhoods, and they felt that one of the ways in doing that was limiting the size, limiting the location, and making sure that they were properly constructed. We do have some residences that have sheds in place that are maybe only 250 square feet or less, and they've turned them into living spaces and are renting them out. And so that was a big, huge concern at that particular time. Is it still happening today? Some of them are still there and some of them are still being lived in. Does that mean everybody's doing it? No, probably not. But I think really the bigger concern is either you're going to assist them in the beginning, and if they don't do it right and somebody complains or turns them in, or we happen to see it, then what we've done is we've created an issue for a homeowner where they've spent the time and the money to get it and have it put in, and now we're telling them, no, you can't have 3 in your backyard, you're going to have to get rid of 2, or you can't put it up against the fence and your neighbor doesn't want it there, you need to move it 5 feet off. It can't be 18 feet tall. So there's a lot of preventative measures that have to go into it as well. And this is just one of the ways of controlling unintended consequences.
Yes, ma'am. I don't object to the code specifically. About the safety structure, distance, offset, easements, et cetera, materials, height, all of that being in our zoning ordinances, that you can't have certain types of structures. What I'm looking at, though, is the permitting process that the other municipalities and the cities in Texas have opted to leave that exception in the ICC. That the ICC, which we could all argue is the collection of experts from around the world, mostly in the United States. They've recommended that type of structure doesn't require a permit. So I would, Phil, to your point, I would be open to considering removing that, re-adding that exception to our codes so that a permit is not required for that accessory structure as long as it meets the recommendations of the ICC.
Now, remember, the ICC is only recommending building.
Yes, ma'am.
In these other cities, that they're not still going back and saying, yeah, it is 120 square feet, but it's in the wrong place and it's too tall. And so you're not eliminating any issues by doing away with that permit and taking that. You may just be flipping that issue to another side. I'm sure that some of these still have all the same things that we do, the bulk requirements, the height requirements, and all of that. So I just caution you to be aware that you may just be shifting it from being a permit issue to being a code compliance issue.
Yes, ma'am, understood. And I do believe that there is a certain level of responsibility that each and every resident has to take to ensure that whatever they're doing on their property is in keeping with the codes and they're not just willy-nilly ignoring them. So that's why I say I'm in favor of leaving it on there for type, size, square footage, et cetera, setback distances and all of that, but not necessarily the permitting process, understanding that yes, there are going to be some residents who don't do it correctly and that turns into a code compliance issue. But we could say the same thing about many other types of issues within the city where the residents are not necessarily going to do the right thing and we have to enforce what they're trying to do. I've taken up way too much time. I don't want this to turn into a fence discussion. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
That's what we're here for. Thank you, Mr. Buck. Mr. Miller, you're in.
Just to feed off everything you're saying, you're talking about San Antonio, putting it to where it's like, hey, if you want us to inspect it, we'll inspect it. Otherwise, sign this. I'm sorry, but I'm thinking also, if you have a structure out there and you just build it and you don't have it inspected, so you don't know if it's code compliant, and wind comes up and something happens with that structure, and say insurance kicks in, it's like all of a sudden they find out, well, hey, that wasn't up to code, then obviously they're not going to cover any damages that's coming out. But by that time, it's kind of too late if somebody doesn't say anything. So
We have the same thing when houses sell, right? Somebody will put in a deck or a shed or whatever where it doesn't belong or it's too big and it doesn't match the code. And so, yes, we will get a call from the title company or the one of the agents and say, hey, did they have a permit? And we'll say no. And they say, well, it's in violation of your code. Can you give us a letter approving this? And the answer is no, we will not. We can't retroactively give you that. And so then it becomes a battle between the seller and the buyer and the title company on how they're going to rectify it. And so that does happen quite often as well. That's why we always say to people, if you're going to do something to your house, you really need to come and talk to us so we can make sure that you are not only safe for now, but if you decide to sell your house later or there is damage to your house, your insurance company and your realtor know that you have gone through the process for you, because it can come to bite you in the end.
Right, that's why, we're talking about, that's why I don't feel, you get this rosy feeling. I've just gone through a lot of moving and everything else, and I've learned a lot in the last few months by all the houses I've seen and everything coming up. But even before it's sold or anything else like that, I'm just talking about a structure that hasn't been inspected, so you don't know if it's up to code, and the person could be living there for years, and something happens, their insurance is not, but it's already occurred, the damage has already occurred, and of course they're going to be taking on a big expense because it's going to be coming out of pocket, whatever they're fixing on their structure or anybody's neighbor's structure. So basically what I'm coming down to is I I don't, in situations that could affect other people as well, I don't feel safe in not having something inspected to make sure it meets requirements for other people's safety. I guess it's just this is something different, but I mean, I feel Mr. Karras was spent way too much money on that permitting process, so that's where I'm at. I'm really not sure what we need to do to mitigate that, but just letting people put things up and figuring it doesn't make it to code later because something happened, I don't think is acceptable. That's all I have. Thank you.
Anyone else?
You go ahead.
You got anything?
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
No, you got it. I'm okay. I'll go last. I'll listen.
Go ahead.
I think it's Rick. So I despise the building code.
We know.
But I do like the exceptions. I'm a fan of exceptions all day long. But I think Mr. Buck spent way too much time working on a fence one, so the exception says fences under 7 foot tall. But I mean, my gosh, we spent all that time. We would have to leave ours in. So I am not the biggest fan of having to get permits for different things in my backyard. I understand how we got to where we were. I think that we've had a shift now. I think everybody's kind of got it cleaned up. I think we've got a great code compliance. Granted, they're still behind when it comes to some of the weeds. So if I have a problem with my neighbor building something, I'm going to call code compliance, and they can tell me I'm either yay or nay. As far as I'm concerned, I'm happy to allow the exceptions minus the fence thing, because Mr. Buck spent so much time on it. I want to make sure that stays in, but I would be happy to eliminate those exceptions. And I don't know anything about oil derricks, but that's an option too in there as well. That's all I've got, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm assuming Buck and Bear just said the same thing. I'm with them that, if Ciplo, San Antonio, Austin, El Paso, BK, if they can all handle it, I think we can handle it as well. And I'm always a fan of, like Mr. Karras wrote, most freedom to the homeowner. I'm all about freedom, and if, you got an issue, you get to deal with it like an adult. And if you didn't go and follow if you didn't follow the code, that's on you. It's not on the city. And I say, be a responsible adult and do what you got to do. So I'm in concurrence with these two.
So, Mayor, I'd make a motion then to ask the city to bring us back an ordinance to add in the accessory structure exception back into the international code and the international residential code.
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Vaughan.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Bulman.
We don't allow residential structures in the building area.
Some commercial. Can I ask a point of clarification?
Just a second, we got a motion and a second, so we're still in the discussion phase. Go ahead, ma'am.
Councilmember Vaughan, to your motion, are you looking for them to be as written, or are you looking to have unity across the two books for the exception that you're looking to have put back in?
I guess I'm probably maybe persuadable on that. I guess my thought would be just to follow what the ICC has, which is the 120 and then the 200. So 120 for IBC and then 200 for IRC, and just copy their exception language.
Okay, so as written, okay.
Yeah, but if you had more information by the time you bring back the ordinance, I'd be happy to discuss it further if council members agree.
Okay.
All right, we do have a motion and a second. Any more discussion, anybody on this? All right, Mayor Bell, call for the vote, please.
Councilmember Vaughan.
Aye.
Councilmember Bulman.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Goolsby.
Aye.
Councilmember Buck.
Aye.
Councilmember Fitzpatrick.
Nay.
Councilmember Najarian.
Nay.
Okay, that motion passes by 4-2. Okay, that concludes our business for this evening, everyone. Thank you for sticking around. Again, a reminder, next Tuesday is a special meeting just to canvass the vote and to swear in, say goodbye and swear in our new people. So I don't think it's required to have to be wearing your uniform next Tuesday.
For you to decide, Mayor.
Give you a chance to say goodbye to your people and to welcome our new ones in. So you become, let's call it business casual. Does that work for you guys?
Indeed it does.
You bet.
All right,
It's your call.
it is now 8 o'clock. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
It is good, Mr. Mayor. Closed it out well.
8 years too late.